You can find Seven Mountain Sports on all your Welcome to Sports Talk with Steve Jones, the daily talk show with the voice of Penn State football and men's basketball. You never know what special guest may stop on by any given day. Now here's the man of the hour, Mr. Steve Jones.
I believe I said on yesterday's show the first team to 50 will win, and it'll be Colorado State. We're still, in fact, Virginia is still out there and still have not reached 50.
I'm stunned they reached what they reached when they were at 14 in the second half.
I mean, they didn't even get 50 points in the shoot-around. I mean, my goodness.
They may not have.
It's just...
It almost reminded me of years ago. I can't remember if it was an NBA game or if it was a college game where the guy at halftime, I knew he was doomed from the beginning. He was one of those, how many points can you get in a minute? I knew he was doomed because he was struggling to handle the ball getting to the hoop.
Right.
He did not touch the rim one time.
Yeah.
That's all I could think of last night when I was watching Virginia shoot the ball. But it was not good.
But again, what was the team that I said shouldn't be in?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Virginia was the team
you weren't
that
alone in that
should not be in.
Yeah, no question.
Right? And a lot of people felt the same way. And like, come on, I don't get it.
No.
You can talk about the Foles body of work. I know they won 23 games, blah blah blah. I got all that stuff. But when you only have two quad one wins, which is the same as Penn State.
Sure.
You play like you did down the stretch, and I know you're not supposed to look at the last 12 games. It's, quote, the full body of work and all, all the usual blah, blah, blah. everything's blah, blah these days. Right? Just to explain in plain English what you're doing. Okay? But you just watch them play. Like, okay, people hate the eye test. Well, guess what? That's part of it.
Mm-hmm.
You got to be able to look, you got to be able to have the ability to not just go, oh, look at all the numbers, look at all the numbers, look at all the metrics. Hey, look up from the play sheet and look at the team. I watch Virginia play.
Yeah.
And are they a good defensive team? Yes. Do they play pack line defense well? Yes. Right? But offensively, and this has been now, when we talk about the last 12 games, you know what the last 12 games show you? Trends.
Mm-hmm.
What is the key with quad one and quad two wins? Quad one and quad two wins tell everybody that you are capable of advancing in the tournament. When you don't have many of them, you have doubts about that. That's what quad one and quad two wins tell you, especially quad ones. They tell the committee that should you get in, you are capable of advancing. You're capable of winning in the tournament. That is what the value of quad one and to a certain point quad twos happen to be. If you're loaded up on threes and fours, you don't get that same thing. All right? You don't get that same thing. And that's why when they talk about strength of schedule, that does come into play. There's no question it does. But all you had to do was watch Virginia the last few weeks of the season, and they just weren't playing well. Now, I don't want to take anything away from Colorado State because there's a good portion of that team I saw last year. They played Penn State. Cartier, Lake, right? All those. I mean, a lot of those guys played against Penn State last year, so I saw them play. I know how good they are. And I knew adding Stevens would make a big difference because Stevens couldn't play last year, and that really hurt them. They got him back. He's a terrific player. He may not have scored a lot last night, but he set everybody else up and had a terrific performance. Yeah. In the end, right? Shooting-wise, no.
Right.
All right. But that's does it mean that Colorado State could have beaten St. John's last night?
Sure.
That could have been the same story. But going in, you felt like St. John's, which just played UConn to within 5.
Mm-hmm.
But that's water under the bridge. And I know we're talking about something that's water under the bridge, but you've got to be able to look up from the data sheet. You've got to be able to look up from the metric sheet And you've got to actually watch how the teams are playing. And if I am an under-talented team, okay? If I'm an under-talented team, I don't have as much talent as the other guy, right? I might want to slow the game down and reduce the number of possessions in the game, okay? Today's game is not played like that.
No.
Right? You can get away with it, right? There's no question you can win with it, but I think you can win with it when you are the team that doesn't have as much talent. If Team B doesn't have as much talent as A, you want to slow it down and reduce the number of possessions and be precise with what you're doing. But that is... But that's not how today's games play. You watch, somebody asked me about Illinois. Hey, look, Illinois is not a great defensive team, but boy, they can score. They have the most athletic team, 1 through 5 on the floor, and they can score. They give up a lot of points, but they can score. And because somebody said to me, "Wow, I'll tell you right now, that was a fun Big Ten championship game." It was, and in part because Illinois is not a great defensive team. And Wisconsin did enough to hang in for a long period of time. And notice how Wisconsin finally got to the Final Four under Bo Ryan when they opened up the floor and stopped playing football on wood.
Yep.
You've got to be able to take advantage of the three-point line in today's game. You have to win the 2 lines. That was what was so remarkable about Wagner, because Wagner didn't get to the free throw line until the second half of their game. But you have to be able to win the 2 lines in today's games. Right? I would say 8 times out of 10, if you win the 2 lines, free throws and three-point line, 8 times out of 10 you're winning the game. I mean, there's going to be some things that happen. You sit back and go, "Hey, we won both lines by a wide margin, didn't win." That's going to happen once in a while. But the vast majority of the time, you are going to be the team that walks out because that's the way the game plays. I know we've talked about the Nate Oates quote that I used before Penn State played Alabama in the Jordan Center. Penn State won the game 72-71, something like that. Actually led most of the game. Alabama closed late. And they had a first-round draft pick. Kyra Lewis, remember, he was on that team. Shackelford was on that team. And I said going in, I said, Nate Oates wants to play this way. He wants 3 things offensively. He wants layups, free throws, and threes. Doesn't want the 15-foot 2-point shot. He doesn't want that. All right, and that's one of the keys defensively. Can I force you into the shots I want you to take? Okay? Can I force you into the shots I want you to take? It's the same thing in defense and football. Can I make you run the plays I want you to run? Can I take away what you want to do and make you do something that we want you to do? Okay? And that's the same thing in basketball. Like I've talked about Purdue being the number 1 overall seed. Okay, well, what's the first thing you have to take care of? And it's not Edey. You have to take care of Smith. And what do you need? It's hard to do, but what do you need to do to Smith? Okay? You need to turn Braden left. Now, is he a good player when he goes left? Yes, he is a good player when he goes left. He is an outstanding player when he goes right. His ability to take passes on over the shoulder, boom, boom, when he goes right, impressive. Going left, can't do it. It's not easy to do, but you have to turn him left. Now I've been able to take my defense, and I've been able to then you made him do something he doesn't want to do. I'm making you now take shots you don't want to take. And that's the key to playing defense. Can I make you, if you execute and do it, you do it. But can I make you do stuff you don't want to do? Right? And that's why he's the key to the whole thing, not Edey. Smith's the key to the whole thing. Right? There are other people around. I mean, this Purdue team is better than last year.
Yeah, no question.
Because Smith and Lawyer are older, and they added in Jones, and Jones is the athlete. All right, the athlete they've been aching to have. That's just a little bit different. But yeah, and that's what makes it's fun this time of year, because you see stuff like that play out. But Virginia, I did not think they should have been in the tournament. I made that statement going into the ACC tournament. I made the statement after the ACC tournament. Hey, I didn't wait till the end of last night's game to say anything about it. I said something about it for the last 2 weeks about they're a team I look at, and I keep saying, I don't see it. You've got to be able to play the modern game. And it's amazing the year they won the national title. What did they do? They opened up. They opened up their offense. And
it took a poor offensive performance the year before to do that.
Against UMBC. Yeah. I mean, that's the weird part. In the in the decade of the 20s, who has more NCAA tournament wins? Penn State or Virginia?
Yeah.
Penn State has more. Because Virginia has none. They haven't won an NCAA tournament game since they won the national championship. Over, what was it, Auburn?
Texas I think Tech? It was Auburn.
Texas Tech?
I think it was Texas Tech, actually.
Yeah. So
that was the Final Four, and I can't think of who was that. I think it was Texas Tech.
It is Texas Tech.
Yeah.
Right. And it's just...
I think one other thing that happens, I think a lot of times with the selection committee, you just see the eyes light up when you look at the conference. And I think for some reason, that's a big reason why Virginia got in. I think you see ACC, competition for ACC is strong. Well, it's strong in the Big East too. And that's why
the Big East is really good.
Really good. Yeah. So it's just, I think there's a lot of times people get caught up in I don't want to say the hype. Well, they do, but I think a lot of it is where you're just looking and you overthink yourself. You're well, ACC, they had to play North Carolina twice. That's a 1 seed. You had to play St. John's had to play UConn. Played it 3 times.
Oh, for goodness sakes, Penn State played Purdue 3 times last year.
Yeah. So that's where, and it's just, I think people just overthink themselves looking at these kind of things. And yeah, I don't know why Virginia got in, but I think that to me is part of it. But it made no sense from the start, as you said. They're not a team that really, I'm not sure you match them up against the last 4 out. I'm not sure they beat any of those 4.
No, I don't. It doesn't matter now. They got in.
Well, now they got in, and it's over.
They lost, but it's interesting. Like Tony Bennett, we'll have to reevaluate how we're playing. Well, no kidding.
Yeah, that's not good. You have 40. Kidding. You don't get to 45 points. It's a concern.
Right in 2024 with a 3-point line, you don't get to 50
3-point line, and the pace of the game is picked up to what it's picked up to. Teams love to slow it down, but it's still a lot faster now than it was 15, 20 years ago.
I can see Wagner playing and getting the clock under 10 every time. They only have 7 players. Well, the circumstance dictates that we can't be going at breakneck speed here for 40 minutes.
Yeah.
I only have 7 players. I don't just have 7 scholarship players. I have 7 players.
Period. Yeah.
So guess what? I have to play zone. So guess what? When I go on offense, I can be selective about running. Right? Hey, I got it. Break. Go. Go, 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 go. All right? But for the most part, I'm going to get a rebound. If it's not on the outlet, if you don't have a break, okay, slow it down. Now you get you play the clock a little bit because I need to shorten the game. I have 7 players total. Obviously, there's 7 players that are good enough to advance, but I have 7. The committee does certain things where you sit back and ask yourself, why did they do this? North Carolina State, why do they have to play tomorrow night? Why couldn't they play Friday night? They just played 5 games in 5 days.
5 days, yeah.
You could have played them on Friday. Why do you do that? This is not Like, does anybody in the room have common sense about how
And that's the one thing that the NFL is as flawed as it is. The NFL does that.
Yeah.
The NFL will absolutely look at that and say, okay, we can't play them this day. They just played here, and here. I know they have Thursday night football. So does every team. So but they will do everything they can to avoid a disaster like that.
Right.
They will do everything they can to schedule around it, and they do a great job of it. But yeah, NCAA.
That's what strikes me about
better.
it. Why? Okay, you're sitting there in the room.
Yeah.
They won the championship on Saturday.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Did anybody sit back and say, "Hey, look, we can keep them on the same seed line, but let's flip them for somebody else over here on a Friday"? Or they're like, no, the metrics say they're 44, and if they're 41,
sure.
we can move.
That's exactly what it is.
What are you doing?
What it is. The metrics say Saturday. They played Saturday. Teams that play Sunday, we're going to move to Friday. Teams that play Saturday, we're going to play Thursday. That's exactly what it was.
That's all you have to do.
Yeah. But that's exactly what it was.
But look,
looked at that and said, here's what analytics says.
I mean, I know Penn State played 4 games in 4 days and played on Thursday.
Mm-hmm.
That's fine.
Yeah.
I had no problem with that. 4 games, 4 days. But when you play 5 games, like 5 games to get there, that is you kind of look over and say, hey, you know what? Let's kind of rig things a little bit and let's get them to Friday. Let's give them 1 extra day. I don't know. They do certain things. I question sometimes how many actual basketball people, like really are like basketball people, that are on the committee. I always have questions about that. And I just some days I wonder. I know there are basketball people on there, but still. I wonder, like, as a group, are there enough votes in the room? Okay, it's fine. I've always had that question. Are there enough basketball people on the committee? Like basketball people that get it, right? I mean, not everybody can play Friday. I got it. But the team that plays 5 games in 5 days needs to be an exception.
I agree.
Right? They're not going to be in the tournament if they don't win. Well, they win. Well, how much does it take to flip out 2 teams? Like, you go here on Friday, you go here Thursday. Nobody knows you made the move. The team that you're moving to Thursday, which probably was already eliminated in their tournament anyway, doesn't know you got moved.
They have no idea. They don't know till 6 o'clock Sunday. No,
Right.
They won't know. They'll never know they got moved.
They'll never know they got moved. They will never
6 o'clock Sunday night.
They will never know they got moved. All right? And that's the part that's so funny about it. They would never know. And it's just, I don't know. It's a small thing. But again, what do I always say? Take care of the little things. Big things take care of themselves. This, again, is the committee not taking care of little things. Well, the S-curve says, I don't care what the S-curve says.
I get extremely annoyed with that stuff. I shouldn't, but and I know there's people make big money to do that stuff, and they do a great job, but I always get annoyed with that stuff, especially in the game baseball.
Well, right. Now, by the way, they don't use, quote, the S-curve anymore. They do rank you 1 through 68.
Yeah.
Right, and then they just go by strictly what the number says.
Yep.
They go strictly by what the number says, but I don't know. There are days you wonder.
No, yeah, quite a few.
In fact, for me, it's many days. Many days. We'll see what they do with the college football playoff. Although I will say this, there will be enough time between conference championship games and the Friday night opening round game.
Right.
They will get $1.3 billion per year to do this. They will be able to farm out games. I would not be surprised if they farmed out the Friday night game and then just do their triple header on
Saturday. Yeah, I agree with you.
I would not be surprised if they farmed out the New Year's Eve game with the idea of doing the triple header on New Year's Day.
It's surprising. Well, no, it's not surprising.
No, I wouldn't be surprised they did that.
No, I wouldn't be surprised at all if they do that. I think it's surprising ratings-wise on New Year's Eve sometimes, but having said that, it's understandable
but they
too.
Can't. They have no choice.
They don't.
I mean, what's their choice? Especially this year, it's a Wednesday. New Year's Day is a Wednesday.
Yeah,
New Year's Eve is a Tuesday.
Yeah.
The other option was to play on Thursday, right?
Yeah.
And that's at that point.
Close. Yeah.
Right. That's you become like the afterthought game.
Mm-hmm.
I think you can get away with a game on New Year's Eve.
Yeah.
But not having both semifinals.
Not having
like
both,
they used to have both semifinals on New Year's Eve. You can't do that.
I don't think you can do it either.
So, and there's no space between the 20th and 21st and the 31st and the 1st. So you can get ready for the next game, which is fine. But it's $1.3 billion. Meanwhile, the NCAA basketball tournament sits there with a contract that runs to 2032. There are little increases in there. The tournament is dramatically undervalued at the moment because of, again, poor organization, poor negotiating. Now, I understand what the goal was, and I thought it was a great move to get Turner involved with CBS.
Yeah, it was a terrific idea.
Right? And there's a couple reasons for it.
Yeah.
Number one, it gave you the space of having 3 extra outlets to carry games.
Exactly.
So now every game has its own its own spot.
You basically have every game.
Last night was also the first time I've tuned into True TV in a year.
Not wrong on that one for me either.
Okay, so those are the shows you have on. Still the same lousy shows you had on last year when I watched. Okay, great. So I watch True TV, for 2 weeks a year, and that's it. But it also gave them. Here's the other part, and the landscape, of course, has changed. We know it's streaming, but when they brought Turner in, it gave them the extra revenue. Because Turner, of course, are cable subscriptions, which CBS did. CBS could not handle the entire number that the NCAA wanted, nor could they handle the number of outlets needed. But at the moment, the tournament is undervalued.
Mm-hmm. I agree.
If football is $1.3 billion a year, the NCAA men's basketball tournament probably should be about 1.1. Right? It should be probably 1.1. Because, the football is more popular than basketball. But you're still going to get big ratings each year. So let's look at, I think the NCAA tournament is, I think, between 600 and 700 per year right now. And it should be 1.1. It's a 14-year, $10.8 billion deal. Okay, so. And, $740 million. So, okay. So right now, in my estimation, they are losing, in my opinion, because of this deal, 300. Let's just be conservative. 300 million per year they're losing. Okay? Per year.
Yeah.
Because
of everything. Yeah.
Right.
Absolutely.
Okay.
I think that's probably about right.
And that's and that's to me because when the Big Ten went out and Jim Delaney did the the Big Ten contract, and he made it 6 years instead of 10, that changed a lot of things. The original contract, 14. Okay, who gets the semifinals this year? TBS having the semifinals and championship games in. Ooh, they have it this year.
TBS, I did not know TBS at the championship this year.
Yeah, they do. It says it would have expired this year. Okay, the TV contract would have expired this year until they did the extension to 2032. TBS gets the semifinals and championship game this year. All right. The 8-year extension, though, is worth $1.1 billion per year. So they're getting that now after getting $740 originally. So yeah. So the 8-year extension they signed that starts this year.
Yeah.
Starts this year is worth 1.1. So this year the semifinals and finals will be on TBS. Meanwhile, the women's championship game's on ABC. The NCAA's contract, now again, that's a $1.1 billion per year for the NCAA men's basketball championship. Okay? The 8-year deal the NCAA signed for 40 NCAA championships, including the women's championship, is $115 million per year. Okay? And that includes the rights to the NIT, the women's basketball invitation tournament. It's the first time, by the way, it's been called the WBIT, just so you know. I was asked about that yesterday. I said, no, it's the first time. It's always been the WNIT until now. And I think they say out of the $115 million, they will get $65 million for the women's basketball tournament. Okay. So those are the TV deals. You want to know the expiration on these? Okay, the Big 12, their deal runs through 2031, 6-year deal. All right. $220 million, $380 for that deal. Okay. Per school numbers are in here. Big 10 deal runs out 2030, 7-year deal, worth $8.05 billion. $1.15 billion per year. Okay. Not bad.
Mm-hmm.
And
you say the women's deal's up this year. Is that up this year?
no, the women's deal, they just extended it for 8 years.
Oh, they just extended. Okay.
That was for everybody. They were still put into the lump sum.
Okay.
8 years, 115.
Yep.
Right? $115 million per year.
Yeah, so they put
so
that
they'll
in
get
the lump sum.
$65 million a year. So at $65 million a year, they'll get what times what 8?
Yeah, so it'd be
$480 million.
400 something million, 480.
Yeah, $480 million, something like that. Total. Peacock streams 32 men's basketball games a year. The Peacock had a good schedule this year.
Peacock got very lucky.
Well, no, but I mean,
they had a good schedule. They also got very lucky.
But it doesn't take a genius. But it doesn't take a genius to look at the schedule.
Yeah, absolutely.
And say Illinois Purdue's a good game.
Yeah,
that doesn't take much. You know,
I agree.
And they got some really good games. The SEC deal expires in 34, and of course, we all know that the ACC deal famously goes to 36. Okay. Notre Dame, by the way, their deal with NBC is $50 million per year. But you look at, if you're a Big Ten school, you're getting, there's an escalator in it. I think there's actually a build-ups, but we'll just use the average. Mm-hmm. Okay, I'm just using the average here. In the end, you're going to average about $75 million. Okay. right in that neighborhood, give or take $1 million or $2 million. Yeah, I'm using your usual ballpark figures. I mean, you kind of go to your bank, go, hey, within $1 million or $2 million, what's my balance?
$1 million or $2 million, $3 million. It's not much difference.
Do you have my balance? I'm just asking. And now you add in the 21 to 22 million from the college football playoff, starting in 26. Okay, starting in 26. So now you're up to, let's just take the short end, take 21. We're up to 96 million. Okay. Then you get the NCAA tournament cut. We're probably up now, could be close to about 100 million. I haven't sold a ticket yet or a parking space.
Mm-hmm.
I haven't sold a ticket yet or a parking space. And that's my baseline.
That's your bet, yeah.
Just on those three elements. Okay. Now with Penn State, you then add in the Playfly contract, which I'm not going to tell you what the number is. I do know what the number is. Okay, it's not small. Okay. Okay. I still haven't sold a parking space, a luxury suite, or a ticket yet. And I'm over 9 figures. Now, everything's more expensive than ever.
Sure.
Pat wants to charter as many people and many teams as possible. Absolutely, because it's about the student athlete. He wants to make sure every student athlete has training table. Okay? 5 years ago, not every team at Penn State had training table. Okay? Not every team did. Okay? He wants to make sure they all have training table. They want to build a football training table. They want to build that in. Well, guess what? They've needed that forever.
Mm-hmm.
They've needed that forever. Right? So he's putting, sports performance. Everything being thrown into sports performance. I think, Josh Nelson left and he took the job with the Atlanta Falcons. So they were in the process of replacing him right now. But the job is more important than ever because it gives coaches an idea now of, okay, wait a minute. We need to maybe dial back practice a little bit. Or guess what? You know what? We looked at all the numbers here. We could probably add another period of practice here. All right? Because, it dictates how you do certain things. What does Penn State do? Sports performance has told James, hey, look, let's on Thursday let's do walkthrough and review, but on Friday we'll do Fast Friday. Well, that's data telling you what works and what doesn't work, and gives you a better chance of performing at your best on Saturday. You're investing in money like that. You're investing money in cold tubs, hot tubs. My goodness, I go back 20 years ago. You know what John Salazar used for the cold tub in the basketball training room? 20 years ago. Kiddie pool with ice. That's not a joke. That's not a joke. It's not a joke. Well, now they've got all that in the training room. Right? That's putting money back into the student athlete. It's not just putting money into the program. It's putting money into the student athlete. That's where Pat Kraft wants to put the money. People are like, what is he doing with all the money? Right? And I'll give you another one. All right? One of the more important building projects on this campus, subtly, in my opinion, and I talked about this at the time when it first was brought up, is the practice bubble. Right? The practice bubble is really needed because you have to take the pressure off Haluba Hall. You just can't keep going having everybody trying to somehow fit their way into Haluba Hall. Right? The practice bubble that they're going to build is going to be really important. I know it's going to affect some parking. I do understand that. And that's always an issue. But that's that to me is one of the critical, unsung building projects on this campus. Now, I know the Jeffrey Field is talked about a lot. We always talk about what they're going to do at the stadium. Those are all extremely important, but a very subtle and not quite as expensive one is the practice bubble. The basketball transfer portal, of course, is in high gear. It's interesting. I read an interview with Greg Doyle of the Indianapolis Star, and the interview was interesting because he talked about a variety of things. And he talked about, in the interview, he was asked about, hey, you've covered Indiana basketball, about seeing Kelvin Sampson have success. And he talked about how galling it is for Indiana people to see him have success because of everything that went wrong at Indiana with him there.
Yeah.
And it went wrong.
Quite a bit.
I mean, he set them back a long time.
Yeah.
In fact, I still feel they haven't really recovered.
Not really. No, because they really haven't because they've lost at least 2 coaches after him.
Yeah,
Miller and Crean?
And Tom Crean.
Yeah.
Funny thing is about Archie Miller, and I say this with all due respect. So I'm not putting him down, but I knew it was going to turn out that way. And you want to know why? Because you could see at Dayton. You could see at Dayton, like he had early success and so forth, but you could see in what they were doing in recruiting that it was about to slide down because he was, in his 5th year there?
Yeah.
You could see it was not at the same level. I'm like going, okay. Well. Now they have Mike Woodson, and they have 2 players already in the transfer portal. No surprise, Peyton Sparks and Banks. Okay? You expect Khalil Ware will go, at the very least, he'll declare for the draft, go through the process, and I think you'll hear some good feedback in the process.
Yep. But
they're saying Malik Renew might not stay. They don't know what Mbakro is going to do. Like, who knows where they are in all this? And Penn State the last 2 years has been the better program. I mean, Penn State's beaten them 4 of the last 5 times. They've been the better program than Indiana. Now, Mike's had to change everything over because he was forced to. But Mike has a nice recruiting class coming in. He doesn't have to get 10 players in 59 days this time. He'll have to get some players in the transfer portal, but he doesn't have to get 10 in 59 days and the whirlwind of that. And now we'll see as time goes whether they can keep the foundation together of what they have to this point. And that's what we have to see. We have to see whether they keep the foundation together. Because there are a couple players that still have to make decisions as to what they want to do about stay or go. All right? Everybody knows, like Ace Baldwin and Puff Johnson are the players people are focused in on, and justifiably, as to, what are they going to do. And so we wait. And that's fine. You can wait. But you don't have the daunting task of 10 players, 9 transfers, and 1 freshman in 59 days. So now you can lock in on what you want to do moving forward, fill whatever holes you need to fill in the transfer portal. Now, at the moment, they can get 2. I think it's 2 right now.
Yeah.
And, we'll see if anything else happens. It's on a day-by-day basis. I mean, you'll see if anything else happens. Okay? But, I've had people say to me, they say, well, it's a 7-year deal. It's like, look, this is a hard job. Everybody acts like everything is easy because, the transfer portal is bringing a bunch of transfers, win games. Like, what are you talking about? Okay? Purdue brought in a transfer. They brought in Lance Jones from Southern Illinois. Okay. Illinois. Now, yes, Terrence Shannon's a transfer, but he's been there a couple of years. Dane Danger's a transfer, but he's been there a couple of years. But Coleman Hawkins and Ty Rogers and Luke Goody were all recruited players. Okay? And then they brought in Marcus Damask, who ironically played with Lance Jones at Southern Illinois. And when those two transferred out, the guy, the head coach, lost his job a week and a half ago. Well, you lost two guys to the Big Ten, really. I mean, what did you expect him to do? Right? Is he some sort of miracle worker? But the core group that he has are actually some of the guys he recruited and have been there for a while. Right? Wisconsin, they brought in A.J. Storr. Everybody else, I mean, Klesmit's a transfer, right? But almost everybody else is part of the core group. Crowell's been there the whole time. Wall's been there the entire time. Hepburn's been there the entire time. You know, again, wholesale transfers? No. Northwestern. Okay, these are the teams that finished in the top 5 spots in the conference. Northwestern. Okay? Ty Berry, been there the whole time. I know Ty's been hurt. I mean, he's not playing. Boo Booey's been there the entire time. Barnheiser's been there the entire time. Nicholson's been there the entire time. Okay? The left-handed kid, number 2. Marinetti, whatever. He's been there the entire time. Okay? They've got a core group that's been there. Mm-hmm. Now, the one that isn't in the top 5 in the Big Ten, that's in the top 5 in the Big Ten that doesn't fall into that category is Nebraska. Okay, Nebraska. It's just been interchangeable parts, and he's got the right parts right now. I mean, Tominaga's a JC kid. That doesn't, to me, that's a recruit, right? When you're a JC player. But Tominaga's a JC player. Mass came in from Bradley. Gary came in from Alabama. Now, I think Lawrence has been with him the entire time. And he's played well. He did not. He was a wild card last year, did not like his game at all. This year, he's playing really well. I give him a lot of credit. Alec, who's from Lincoln, is a transfer. He's actually from Lincoln. And trying to think the rest of their lineup. Bryce Williams is a transfer. So I mean, they're transfers. They've been able to do it, but they've done it on this 1-year basis here. Okay, UConn. Okay, sure, they brought in Cam Spencer. What about the rest of the group? What about the rest of the group? North Carolina. Okay, they're doing it with their base guys.
Mm-hmm. Sure.
I mean, you look like one after another. Like Iowa State is more of a, okay. Right? Arizona has some, adding Caleb Love helped them a lot. No question. He was going to go to Michigan. But when people are sitting there saying, oh, you can't build it by bringing in your own players, you got to go out and get transfers. I just talked about the top 5 teams in the Big Ten in the standings who added in select transfers here and there. Hold on a second. Of the 5, only 1 went mass transfer. 1. Okay? And that's, and it has to be the right kind of guy. Like, let's take Ohio State. Okay, Jake Diebler did a really good job. They won last night. They beat Cornell in the NIT. Tight game all the way through. All right, but Thornton is nothing but an Ohio. Okay, you look at the vast majority of that lineup for Ohio State, and they're homegrown guys. But they added in Jamison Battle. Okay. And I think Devin Royal they added in.
Yep.
Devin Royal was added in. Battle was added in, and then one other guy off the bench who hasn't really helped him a lot. He's been, he plays, but not effective. But Devin Royal and Battle have really helped him. Everybody else they recruit, and Evan Mahavy, of course. But everybody else, okay, Akpara, right? The two backcourt guys, right, are base guys. Zed Key off the bench, base guy. I mean, that's how that you're seeing. These are the teams that are showing success just within the Big Ten. And I went through the top seeds the top seeds, the top 8 seeds in the NCAA tournament. What are they all doing? They're getting base guys, but they're adding in some transfers, a couple here and there to help themselves out.
Yep.
Okay, I'm sorry, but that's why James Franklin.
Yeah.
I tell everybody all the time when I talk to groups, Penn State's been fortunate in football. They've always had the right guy at the right time.
Mm-hmm.
For 46 years, Joe was the right guy. When in that transition, they needed Bill O'Brien. They had it. Now they get James. James flat out gets it. His roster construction, the base that he has out there, being selective about adding in transfers that fit a culture, what you want to do, the kind of athlete you want, but somebody who fits with the program. I mean, James Franklin flat out gets it, right? Mike's the same way. Mike gets it. Mike understands, like, hey, look, he loves the ability to get guys in. He's not going to go out and he's not going to recruit. Hey, let's bring in 9 freshman players. No. Right now he's got 4.
Right.
Okay? He's got 3 that have already signed and one that's verbal that will sign coming up next month. Right? And he's going to selectively work around it. Right? You can't develop a culture when you are when you're sitting there and you're in a basketball sense, you're the United Nations.
No, and that's exactly where I'm looking at it. I think to me, you go to the portal. I think the way Penn State football does the portal is
exactly
how you do it. You need help at a certain position. Okay, you go to the portal, but you can't just get away from what built you for 25 years beyond. You still have to recruit. You still have to bring in character. Number one, you still have to bring in somebody that fits your program, fits your mold, fits what you are preaching. I think that's all of the above, and I think that's the concern for me when I'm looking from a college football, from a landscape perspective. I'm looking at perception. Good Lord. I'm looking at what Oregon has had to do. I'm looking at what Ohio State is doing this year. I don't think that's the future of college football. I think there's different styles of the transfer portal, but I still lean more towards what Penn State has done, what Alabama has done, and what other teams continue to do where, okay, I need help here, I go to the portal. I do not build my team around the portal.
Well, Texas made the Final Four last year, and they're really built around Texas recruits.
Absolutely.
Right, with a couple of selected, right? Michigan was built around, for the most part, Michigan recruits.
Yep.
One kid was a trend. One corner was from UMass.
Yeah, that's
Mike Dana, who's now with the Kansas City Chiefs. He transferred in, but they did the same way with Penn State. For the most part, Ohio State's been like that. Very selective on transfers. Very selective. Yeah. Alabama, for the most part, has been selective. Now Washington had more, but that was
more this year too.
Right. Well, no, they have no choice.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
No choice. They lost a lot of players, and they're trying to keep themselves relevant. Right? So, and that's what Mike was trying to do. Mike was trying to hey, look, Mike sat down to have the first team meeting when he took over, and it took seconds to take attendance. Okay, everybody here. Okay, I got 3 scholarship players, 2 walk-ons. Okay, great.
And it's different.
So when you have to do that, you have
when you
to
lose
do it.
Especially, absolutely.
Right. But now when you're establishing a program, it is still important to establish a program.
Absolutely. And
that's the part that's missing. You can't just go, let's just everybody all at once. Right? That's exactly right. The other part is, let's talk about NIL for a moment. NIL is really important. There's no getting around it.
Sure.
But look at Miami. John Ruiz has poured all this money in. What kind of return
program?
Is he
absolutely.
Okay? Now, they had 1 year.
Yeah.
1 year. They get to the Final Four. Isaiah Wong, right? Nigel Pack, backcourt. Everybody, oh, look at that. What'd they do this year?
Yeah. Agreed.
Okay, nothing.
There's no doubt.
What'd they do in football?
Yeah, nothing.
Nothing.
No, they paid up more in football than they have basketball.
Right.
Yeah,
oh, of course. Well, you're talking about 125 players.
Yeah,
I mean,
well, that's... And not only that, just what they've put into quarterbacks that don't stay there.
And everything like that.
Yeah.
Okay, Indiana puts in a lot of money in NIL for men's basketball.
Sure. No result.
Penn State's better.
Yeah.
I know they lost the last game, but for goodness sakes, okay? Penn State's been for 2 years. When you win 4 out of the last 5 against somebody, you're the better team.
Absolutely.
All right? In all sorts of venues. They won at the Jordan Center. They won at Assembly Hall. You know, I mean, they beat him last year in Chicago. I mean, come on. Okay. Yeah. So it didn't really matter where they were playing. Sure. They finally got him, right, on a day where Penn State didn't shoot well. Penn State shoots 29% and not 28%. Penn State's
wins.
Playing Nebraska.
Still comes down to the last possession.
Right?
Still comes down to the last possession when as poor as they shot that day.
Okay. But they've been the better program. Indiana's got NIL. You got to be able to, be smart about where you're putting it.
Yeah.
Right? And that's something that we're starting to see. Remember, I've talked about a lot of times with NIL about return on investment. Okay? We're starting to see.
Absolutely.
With people sitting back going, I'm not so sure because they want return on investment.
And I think part of that return on investment is exactly what we're both talking about here is culture. That's a big part of it.
Culture means everything.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm at football practice yesterday.
Yeah.
The energy, right? The culture of it. I mean, it's really fun to watch because you can tell they're connected.
Yep.
It's not perfect.
Right.
Okay. There might be a couple guys that don't quite get along, but it's the
world.
But right.
Yeah.
But they're out there. Okay.
Yeah.
Penn State basketball, a lot of things changed for them down the stretch, as we all know. I'm not going to get into it, but they became a more connected team. Ball got hot, ball moved, you know what I mean? And it changed how everybody was playing out there. And it took a long time for everybody to get connected because it was from all different parts of the world trying to merge it together and play basketball. But the culture part is an important piece. Having a program is an important piece to it.
Sure.
You can't, to me, it is difficult to get some semblance of consistency when you have a hodgepodge every year.
Yeah. And that's ties to the I just feel like college is different this year when it comes to athletics. I don't think you're not having guys necessarily room together anymore. You're not necessarily bonding from day one, but you're not able to do any of that when you go to the portal every year.
Right.
And that's where I think culture comes into play in a big way. Yeah, I think you have to have that continuity. You have to have the camaraderie. And I think that's what programs that go to the portal like Penn State and Alabama do. I think you have a much better chance of having all of the above than somebody that goes to the portal on a yearly basis.
And who are some of your more important recruiters?
Yeah.
Your players.
Your players. No question.
Hey.
Not a doubt.
Let me ask you, this is our kind of guy?
Yeah.
You're around him. You talk to him. Right. This guy fit with us? Oh, yeah, no, he'd fit in great with us. Right. Because you've already evaluated the athletic part. You've evaluated the athletic part.
Yeah.
You've tried to evaluate the school part. You've tried to evaluate the home culture part. You try to evaluate all this.
Absolutely.
But when the coaches are away, what kind of guy is he? Okay. And you talk to your players. He's not really our kind of guy. He doesn't really fit. Okay. Or, you know what? Terrific. I mean, really. Hey, he's all right. Yeah. He's okay. Right? It's like that last piece.
Yeah.
Right? That gives the coaches an indication of what kind of locker room person he's going to be for you. What's he going to be like out in the field, on a practice field, tough, hot August day, right? And you can find out certain things like that. Your players help you out, but they only help you out if you have a program.
Yep.
They only help you out if you have an established culture. Okay? That's where it helps. Right? And then you'll have certain players that are like the Pied Piper. that have the ability to help you, the coach, recruit somebody because guys want to play quote ball with you. And I've been forced to play ball with you all week.
Right.
It's just been a grind.
Right. It's grueling.
Right. And I'm a little confused why you picked Marist in your bracket. I tried to point out to you that Marist wasn't in the tournament, but you seem to have an affinity for Poughkeepsie. I don't get it. Back tomorrow should be another exciting edition.